Ruthless Compassion is a podcast that shows you how to become fiercely kind. I'm the host, Dr. Marcia Sirota, and in each episode, I get into it with experts and regular folks about the things that get in the way of what we want. Things like addiction and mental health, isolation and loneliness, difficult family and work relationships, and the importance of self-care. I want to help you overcome the obstacles to living your best life, and I want to inspire you to become a powerful kindness warrior. Michael Ballard specializes in developing and delivering programs that help people, organizations, and communities understand, assess, and develop their resiliency factors. These are essential skills for the success of individuals, families, organizations, and communities. His broad and various experiences include working across North America to Bermuda to Singapore. Clients have included IBM, Bell, Centennial College, Shouters Church, Ontario Hydro, Council for the Status of Women, and Alberta Literacy. He can be reached at resilientmichael@gmail.com. Welcome, Michael Ballard, to the Ruthless Compassion Show. It's great to have you here today.
It's great to be here.
I just wanted you to share with your audience the kinds of things that you're doing these days work-wise.
Well, work-wise, I specialize in getting groups and individuals, and I talk about resiliency, and the old Greek word resiliency meant plastic as in bounce back, be elastic. Mm-hmm. And of course, plastic's associated with pollution these days, but this was referring to rational, emotional, physical elasticity and dealing with adversity. And so having had a few bouts of cancer and chronic illness and having had a family member who's good now who had a brain tumor, I realized that our society doesn't teach us formally how to be resilient. So I went on a quest, and that's what I do now. I have programming for 3-year-olds and up, and my oldest clients have been seniors, 88 to 103.
Wow. I'd love to hear more about your own story, how you started working with the concept of resilience, because obviously you have a very personal connection to this.
I do. Thank you. Yes, at 6 years old, riding my bicycle down the little hill where I lived, I was finally old enough to be allowed to go around the corner. I managed to avoid hitting a little person who ran in front of me, and I hit the only rock in the ditch and ended up with a concussion. Wow. So fast forward 6 hours, I'm in the hospital, I'm fading in and out. I got a headache that I can only describe as a world-class headache, and my roommate comes in with a concussion. Now, that's when I started becoming interested in behavior at a young age. I had a concussion, lights hurt, sound hurt, touch hurt, everything hurt. I asked the nurse, could I have aspirins? I'd heard adults ask for aspirins. So they said, absolutely not. It's a good question, though. Sorry, we have to wake you up every hour. They were checking for pupil dilation, which can be a sign of how bad the injury is. But my roommate, he didn't want quiet. He yelled, he screamed, he shouted, he jumped up and down, and 18 hours later, they finally got him a room away from me because, boy, was I in pain from his screaming. So at a very early age, I was really intrigued that two people having a similar incident could react radically different. I was like, wow, he's annoying, but he's entitled, but he's annoying. So that got me started. And fast forward to 17, chronic illness, a digestive tract issue, and a doctor with good intentions said, there's nothing you can do, Michael. Well, in my house, you're allowed to feel that and think that for a little while, but don't live there. Just visit that thought, that feeling for a while. So I was able to, within a year, find information at the library that people with chronic illness that practice certain skills, I call them resiliency skills, others call them mind-body skills, some call them life skills, just for your listeners if they're going to look for things, what to look for. And people who practice these skills have 20% less symptoms. Well, that got my attention. Who wants to have a chronic illness with issues? A fifth less symptoms. So I started practicing them, and darned if my chronic illness symptoms didn't disappear for 3 years. So that got me really interested. That this information from Harvard Medical School, no cure. They're not saying it's a cure. It's just that if you practice these skills, you can have less symptoms or no symptoms on occasion. And it was like, wow, how cool is that? So that got me really interested. So I went about my day and finished my education and got a job in sales and marketing and met a wonderful lady and got married and got busy doing what you do with a career and a marriage, and I forgot to practice those skills. And so it came back a little bit, a few times, and back to the skills. And then at 27, I was given a pretty scary diagnosis of cancer, that you have cancer, but it's not only you got cancer, but it's spread. So it's in 4 locations. Well, let's just say that I'm not stupid. I did well in my sales career because I have good social emotional intelligence, and I could just read the faces of the doctors, the specialists, the nurses. And some of them were doing their best to keep straight face, but 2 of them started to cry. So it's like, I'm 27 and the staff are crying. I'm really sick.
Oh boy.
I can laugh now, but I quickly found out hospitals were not prepared to deal with me, because I said, what skills do you have to help me cope? And they said, between the social working staff and the psychology, psychiatry staff, nothing.
Where was this?
This was in a hospital on the East Coast, 1980s.
Okay.
And so it was like, nothing? Oh. So within a couple days, guess what? That became my reason to live outside of a family and a spouse to fight for my life. It was like, when I get out of here and my kids are the right age, I know what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to talk to anybody that will listen about being resilient. So I had been blessed in my teenage years to have a sensei master who had studied 2 martial arts, one Japanese and one Chinese. And I wasn't a very good kung fu-er or a karate expert, but emotionally and rationally, I learned some pretty amazing skills. Nowadays, we talk mindfulness, we talk meditation, but they didn't have those labels back in the 70s. It was just, do these things, said the martial arts instructor, master, and you're better. Well, that's what I've been practicing to deal with my chronic illness, because it tied in with the research from Harvard. So I started practicing these things, along with, I had music. I had a theme song for music to help me cry. I had a theme song to help me buck up and suck it up and move forward, because, one without the other is not in balance.
Right.
And my mental health expert told me I was too happy for a guy that was going to die. So I said, well, yeah, you haven't known me for 5 minutes, and you haven't asked me why I'm happy. I'm going to live till I die, not fade away till I die. And so then I fired him on the spot. Don't come back. So I was scared out of my mind, but I had reached out through my father, and he had helped me get 60 prayer groups around the world. Not normal, but it was the 80s. My dad worked for a Fortune 500 company who had intranet with a satellite uplink. And so my dad saying, son, you're 27. I'm supposed to be the one that's ill, not you. You shouldn't be this sick. You should be here with a broken leg. My dad was pretty devastated. So I said, Dad, here's your homework. Put me into prayer groups. The only thing I know for sure is there's a power bigger than me. Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim. I can't comment on which one's the one, but I just know there's something bigger than me. So Dad was able to report back in 3 weeks with joy in his voice that, son, you're in about 60 prayer groups, mosques, temples, revival halls, prayer groups. Thanks, Dad.
Wow.
So it was an incredible experience, and I literally felt lifted up every day. So those were some of my building blocks about why is resiliency important, because the staff at the hospital started saying, with deep respect, you're not normal. Most people, when they get told they have cancer and it spread to 4 locations, get ready to die. You went home, made sure you got a new will, put a plan together for your spouse with the moving company and your realtor, gave her all the information, said, honey, if I die, here's the new will. Here's the people to talk to. Please don't move in haste. Wait 90 days to a year. Now I'm going to go fight for my life. So it just changed everything by having these things that were happy accidents. The concussion wasn't pleasant. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. And to this day, if I talk about it too much, the back of my neck starts to throb. Little muscle memory there, I think, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
So that, though, helped me understand there was at least 2 ways to cope with anything. The other young man screaming and shouting helped him cope. He was angry. So I got mellow. So it really pointed out 2 ways. And then, of course, my martial arts training gave me meditation. They gave me mindfulness. It taught me diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing to the young ones listening. And it really gave me some control. Not a cure, I can't stress it enough, but wow, what a great way to have a sense of, I have a baseline to fight. And of course, I'd played piano for years. I played trumpet adequately to poorly, but I had a lot of fun. And I had attempted singing on more than a few occasions in a choir. And so I was blessed that I was given a sense of rhythm and timing, and so that music was a very important part of things for me, because I had a healing song, and I had a fight song, and I had a crying song, and I had poetry and prose, and you name it, I was doing it. Because when you get told you have cancer and it's spread to 3 other locations and you've got stage 3 tumors, it's, as you can imagine, frightening, especially when staff cry.
Yeah, it's a pretty devastating thing, but here you are 30 plus years later, so yes. Obviously something was working that you were doing.
Yes, and so as I say to the listeners, I'm not saying anything I did helped me live longer, but it changed the complete quality of my experience to being one of, yes, I'm scared, yes, I might die, but look out, cancer, I'm going to poke you in the eye every hour of every day. And let's be clear, I cried. I was on a ward where we all had major surgery, so the showers were not off limits, but typically they were only used the last day before you went home. So I would go to the head nurse for the shift at 4:35 in the morning and say, I'm going to the men's shower room, so if you hear some crying, and I would go in there and let off some steam, cry, whimper, wail, with the door closed. You don't want to wake others up. And it just felt right. For the first few days, I cried at the blink of an eye, but after a few days, it's like, I'm tired of crying, and it seems like not a waste of energy. It's good to acknowledge it and let it out, but I'm not going to cry every hour anymore. And so I started practicing my prayers, my music, my affirmations, and I was very lucky to have my musical training, because I knew that self-hypnosis and music can do a lot to help you manage pain physically, but also emotionally lift you up. You just have to be careful not to overuse it.
What do you mean by overuse it?
Use it nonstop, every hour of the day, every minute of the day. So I would use it for an hour in the morning and a couple hours in the afternoon, after supper, before bed. If I couldn't sleep, I'd walk the halls at night, but I didn't use it repeatedly nonstop.
So you're saying you didn't use it addictively?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Yes, another way to say it. Everything in balance. Just like they couldn't understand why I wasn't crying more. Well, that's, in the beginning, wasn't a choice. It just came out as a gusher because, I'm 27. I'm too young to die. But then again, I started thinking, I wonder what some kid in Africa that's starving to death at 14 would think about a 27-year-old who's complaining about dying. So being a little harsh on myself, but it was all about points of perspective. And I got to meet people one gentleman who was extremely wealthy. I mean, I know a lot of people then, and I know a lot of people now, and I quickly realized that's that multi-millionaire I've heard about in the news. Oh, how sad. I get 1 to 40 visitors a day. He gets 1 on Sundays, 1 granddaughter. Nobody else bothers. So I was very blessed to have social emotional ties to friends and family and relatives and connections, and even customers were showing up. So that got me interested in resiliency.
So it really sounds like you had your own personal crash course in resilience from 6-year-old little boy having a concussion to 17-year-old with a chronic illness to a very young man with a family.
Yes.
And responsibilities, facing a life-threatening diagnosis where the doctors and the staff were not very optimistic. And so it was like you were really beating all the odds and really coming out ahead.
Exactly, yes. And so I had to go back 4 more times because unfortunately the cancer spread. And they were tough, but they weren't as tough because we were being proactive or we were paying attention. And one of the things that I like to do that some people find disconcerting for your listeners is I like to rename things because it gives me a sense of ownership and control. So I was going for colonoscopies to test because, both grandfathers died of colon cancer. We found out after my surgery. We went back and did the research. So that's a real big reason to go for colonoscopies if both grandfathers had colon cancer. So I went for checkups every 90 days. Well, that became a bore and annoying and also very discomforting. So
for sure.
I said to the doctor one day, I know this isn't an accurate description, but I've told my friends I come in for T cubed. He said, what? I said, I'm coming in for a tush tissue test. So, not very professional, but I'm the patient. As long as it's not lewd or crude to the staff that are in the room, don't care. I came in for my T cubed, and I had to come in for 15 years. And in the beginning, it was every 30, the first little while, it was every 3 months. For 2 years, it was every 3 months. And then for the next 3 years, it was 3 times a year. And then it was twice a year till I was 10 years. And then it was every 9 months, I think it was. They had it figured out till it was 15 years. And then it was like, new research indicates that if you have no large bowel left, maybe we shouldn't be bothering to look for more bowel cancer. Because that's what both grandfathers had, was large bowel cancer. So come every 2 or 3. So after that, for another 10 years, then it was like, we're not even sure you should come anymore. So I go every 5 or 6 years just because. And I still call it a T cubed. Although now, because I don't have a large colon, I go for endoscopies to be technically correct. But I still, sorry.
Go ahead.
I still tease the staff because the technology is incredible. The technology of the 80s was frightening. It looked like a large garden hose, 3/4 inch or bigger. They put in you to look. And now with fiber optics, it's remarkable. I have large hands. It's smaller than the diameter of my pinky. It's remarkable.
I guess after all your experience, you really have a lot of points of comparison.
I do.
But I was thinking about your T cubed phrase, and it's like you make your own word to take back, like you say, that sense of empowerment, that sense of agency.
Yes.
Because if you can name it, then it becomes something less overwhelming, less frightening,
100%.
less, like you say, out of your control. And so I totally understand why you would do that. It's a reframing in your mind.
Absolutely. And reframing or seeing it through another set of eyes, it's like the young gentleman who screamed with his headache, with his concussion. He's totally entitled to do that. It just didn't work for me. But seeing things from a second, third, fourth point of view, it really helps you gain your power back if you give yourself permission to do it.
Absolutely. And I hear you, you're chuckling a lot, you're laughing a lot. Were you always a happy person, or did the happiness come along?
I was generally very, very happy. I have 2 distinct family cultures, mums and dads. Both are valuable, but one family went through several tragedies when one grandparent was young, and so they had a lot of angst and worry about things. And that's not a character flaw. That's about caring and nurturing. The only way they knew how was to stay safe, dear. But the other family was like, what can you change? What can't you change? But what can you manage? And what do you have to just give away? And that was more of what I went towards, because with my chronic illness, I can't change it, but I could manage it. And I could maybe give some of the annoying stuff, just, okay, give it away. And so that bowel disease, once I got to sharing it, I had 3 young ladies in high school that were friends that were girls as opposed to girlfriends, just to clarify. And we used to hang out on occasion and chat. And as one young lady said, "You're so respectful." I said, well, as I can't make up my mind which of the 19 young ladies I think are awesome to date, I don't think I should try to date 19 at once, so I don't date anybody. But they said, and we used to tease, "Michael, so you have bloating and bleeding?" "Yes." Well, one of them with a big wink and a smile said, "You might be the only man my age that understands bloating and bleeding." So, not something we always talk about in polite company, but talk about a bonding moment at 17 or 18 with your peers. It was like, because I had fat pants and I had skinny pants. So I learned that if you can't change it, can you manage it? What can you give away? And as long as it's not a safety issue and you pay attention, it can make for some meaningful changes in quality of experience. So partly always happy, but when I was first diagnosed with the chronic illness, I went into a slump for a year because I got told there's nothing you can do. And it took me a year to get up a head of steam to go, "Well, doc, that's your opinion." And I went to the university library and found some research to prove him wrong. So not that he was evil. he just meant physically there was nothing he could do, and it was the late 70s, and so there was nothing I could do according to his training. But Harvard had been doing research from the late 60s saying, nope, there's some things you can do to manage this better. So it was pretty exciting times for me.
I love that attitude, and I've certainly encountered a lot of patients in my practice who had chronic illnesses and were told by their doctor, well, there's really nothing we can do. Here, take this painkiller or take this for sleep.
Yep.
And then they did their own exploration, and sometimes with my help, to discover other options, other ways of managing, sharing it with loved ones, talking about things, which I think is a great coping strategy. Yes. All different things, alternative medicine, exercise, meditation.
And can I stop you on the alternative medicine? Mm-hmm. I think it's all supplemental. Maybe not everybody agrees with that word, but my registered massage therapist is one of my heroes, because a heavy dose of morphine to stop a back spasm is great the first time. But 24 hours later, no, I want to get going on my life, and I hate morphine. Demerol is my friend. I don't take it because I don't like it. After 3 days, my brain doesn't function, and my best drug of choice is my brain. When I use the right, what I call brain software, life is a lot better than drugs.
For sure.
My pharmacist said I'm the only person that's ever brought painkillers back to him based on the strength. I once tore my peritoneal sac, the inner lining that holds the organs together, for your listeners. And my doctor had an MRI taken, called me the next day and said, take twice as many of those pills. How the heck do you do it? Said, a lot of breathing and stretching. But I got halfway through the bottle. I was healed up, and I took half a bottle of heavy-duty, I forget what the kids call it on the street. It was a heavy-duty white pill, and it was...
OxyContin?
That's it, yeah, and I took a half a bottle back, a great big bottle, and the pharmacist said, you're bringing it back. Yeah, why? Well, you're only half done. Yeah, well, I haven't needed it for 6 days. I've stretched, I've rolled over, I've lied on the hard floor to make sure I have no pain. I've done some stretching exercises for 3 days in a row, no pain. I'm done. I'm healed. Nobody's ever brought a bottle back of this strength, ever.
Yeah. Well, I liked what you said about the massage therapy, though. I think there are a lot of things that, without giving up the regular medical procedures, we can use a lot of alternative or supplemental treatments like acupuncture, massage, chiropractic, different things like that.
Believer in chiropractor. I have some sinus issues, and on occasion they talk to me. And my chiropractor in Aurora, Ontario, back when I lived in Aurora, was amazing because he did sinus massages. And it was like, wow, this is remarkable. What do you mean the plates in my scalp or my skull can be gently massaged? It was a whole big, amazing time. My headaches would get so hard that my eyesight was off. Wow. My sinuses would be, to tease, all clogged up. Because I have seasonal issues. So it was a real homework to have that 7-year battle with cancer and surgeries. But the biggest thing for your listener, for me, was to understand that whatever I felt was okay to feel, but then after I'd had the feelings for a while, and everybody's while is a little different. For some people it's minutes, for some it's weeks or months, but then there's choices to be made. So when I had to have my emergency surgery at 11:30 at night, and I got wheeled into OR, I looked up and half the staff were crying. And it's like, whoa, I don't want people that are sad operating on me. So you can't say that I did stand up because I was on my back. But I was able to say it's like this. It's 23 to 12. My birthday ends in 23 minutes. I don't want to count back from 100. I've done that 4 times. I want you to sing me happy birthday, and I won't get to the second happy birthday because I'm going to suck in so hard I won't hear a thing. But it turns out that one of my restorative surgeries, I had a blocked and twisted bowel. My body was exhausted, all this work in 18 months. And so I was able to change the situation. We laughed. I cried. I sucked in deep twice, and I don't remember a thing for a day and a half. And when I came through, woke up, was I sore. But did I feel good? And so framing and reframing is not pretending that your experiences and what you're going through don't exist, but it's that back to another point of view or a third point of view or a fourth point of view. So I needed the surgery. I could have died without it. it looked like a fist was coming out of my belly. I was blocked so hard. But owning the experience, saying to the staff, okay, 2 things. If I have to come back ever again, this time like Cracker Jacks, could you leave a prize inside? This is a lot of work. And then sing me happy birthday. And they laughed and said, you nut, we got to put you under. This is really important. I said, not as important as you guys laughing instead of crying.
Sure, you want them to be in a good space when they're operating,
Exactly.
when you're not in a hopeful and positive
yes,
space.
Yes, and I actually told them, I took a long time to be quiet. It's like this, no negatives. You can say, wow, he's so young to be so ugly. That's allowed. But not, oh, he's been through a lot and he's in a lot of pain. I don't want to hear anything when I'm subconscious except for trash talk, and he's going to do well. And now they knew me well enough that I'm the patient that said, you know, guys, over the time of the 4 trips before me, you should have frequent stitcher points. There's air miles for gas cards. Why not stitcher points for medical and mental health? So many points for a stitch. So many points for a staple. So many points for an hour in OR. I said I'd qualify for a facelift by now. Maybe a tummy tuck. Maybe even a liposuction. And, of course, I loved to tease. One of my doctors was very short. I said, maybe even a little height adjustment, and give him a big wink. And he used to just wiggle his finger at me, and the other doctors would go, you know, he's the chief of staff. I said, yeah, and he's a human being, and I'm making him laugh while I might die. He deserves respect, and it's tough to deal with people like me, so why not do some nonsense?
You know, it's very clear that you have, you know, worked very hard to have this fantastic attitude. What do you do when you encounter somebody who's going through similar kinds of difficulties in their life, but they have a very different kind of attitude? Maybe they feel very sorry for themselves, or they feel very hopeless. They feel, you know, very helpless. How do you help them?
It's funny you should mention that.
Okay.
I've worked with some chronic illness groups. And the associations sometimes take on the flavor of what the illness does. So at one point, I was volunteering for an illness that I don't have, and I won't name it because I'm not into blame and shame. And in going to one of the clinics, they said to me, you know, Michael, we have over 3,000 patients that come to this clinic. Some are very ill and they're here weekly. Some are here for twice-a-year checkups to make sure things are stalled and they're not going the wrong direction, or they're just hovering. And some of them go for 20 years and things don't get worse, which is awesome. And they said, we can count on 2 hands between the lot of us happy patients with this particular chronic illness. So we're having you to come to talk to the staff meeting because how do you do that? Why have you done that? How is this possible? So to talk to people who are stuck, and it's not a character flaw to be stuck when you have a chronic illness because it's quite devastating. I mean, I was lucky that I was born to parents who would say that, isn't it lucky you got 10 digits that all work, meaning fingers and thumbs? Aren't feet miraculous? Toes, bones, tendons, nails, as in toenails.
Sure, your parents had a lot of gratitude and filled you with gratitude, so, yeah.
They didn't call it gratitude, but aren't you lucky they work? And so when we had a member of our neighborhood who got Parkinson's at an early age, Dad was like, you know, that just seems harsh. Aren't we lucky that so far we don't have any serious health issues for the under 75s in the family? It's just amazing. Now, his mother had a stroke within weeks of saying that, but she made it to 75-ish. So there was a lot of gratitude. So I would say to people who feel stuck, it's okay to be stuck. But I say, be careful of living there as opposed to visiting. It's okay to visit the land of stuck, but I say that it's the land of stuck and bitter versus the land of stretch and better. So I have diabetes type 2. I'm not pleased with that, but genetically, all the women I'm related to, older than the next generation up and the generation before that, had diabetes. So I've been to the clinic a few times, and my experts say, oh, Michael, with that family history, you had an 83% chance of getting diabetes, and you did it 12 years later than your grandma, and you did it 10 years later than your mom. You're doing really well. And some days I don't need insulin. I just take my pill. So I try to focus on what's it like. I can still travel. I have to be careful. I never ate 3 pieces of chocolate cake, but in my teens, I did have 2 pieces on occasion with 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream, and those days are over, but that's okay. I've eaten some world-famous chocolate cake. I just have smaller slices now because I'm managing the illness. The illness is not managing me, which, to take it back to how do you manage and deal with people that are stuck, one of the skills that I got taught that I really appreciated, and I didn't have a name for it for years, and I eventually took a course from an Olympic athlete coach who coaches high-performance athletes, and I'm anything but a high-performance athlete in some ways, and yet I see myself as an athlete, and that's for later. So, disidentification. Do you have the issue, or does the issue have you? So for the first 2 weeks of having diabetes, the diabetes had me. And then I said, okay, buckaroo, suck it up, let's do it. You are going to own diabetes. It is not going to own you. You're going to have 5.9 to 6.9 sugar readings, and you're not going to be higher, but on rare occasion, should you have dessert. And after 2 weeks, I went in for my checkup because I was really, when they checked my blood sugar, they had me coming in every 3 days for a week because it was so high. It was 17.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's, go blind, lose a toe, have a stroke category for those that don't know anything about readings. So, fair enough. But within 2 weeks, I was getting a 6.1, 5.9, 6.3 readings for a daily average, and they're like, wow, what have you done? And I said, well, after the 2 weeks of terror, I disidentified and re-identified that I am Michael, and I am really healthy, and I have this diabetes thing, too, that keeps me on my toes for what type of fuel I use and the frequency of said fuel. And so when people get stuck, it's okay to be stuck, and it's normal to be stuck. But stuck takes energy, and it stops us from having joy, and it gets in the way of our gratitude. So I'm the guy at the local swimming pool that doesn't swim well. I almost drowned at one point in my life, and my parents spent a lot of money on 7 or 8 sets of lessons trying to help me swim. And only as an adult did we figure out why. I am one of the rare people who sink in the water, not float. So with goggles, I swim 1.5 feet below the water surface, and that's my buoyancy point. I now, as a volunteer, love nothing better than to teach people to swim that don't like the water. I must have about an 80-90% success rate. 3 years old, 50 years old, doesn't matter. So it's taking what scares me and making friends with it. I still don't want to swim in 90 feet of water offshore in an ocean, but I've done it in deep water in lakes because the boat's just there. Because I'm always fighting this. I'm going to die! And it's like, listen, you're not going to die. You're going to be calm. Listen, 6-year-old boy inside. We can do this. We got it covered. You can swim a mile at a time in a pool, so you can swim 50 yards in a lake.
So is that how you break it down for the people that you're dealing with who are stuck in helplessness and hopelessness?
Yes, I have a model I developed that's about stretching or shrinking. Shrinking is a safety mechanism. You're backing away from what scares you, and that's good. But the trouble is, for some of us, it becomes a perpetual state of shrink away. So, for example, I say to people when I teach, and I usually whisper, if there was gunshots and you didn't react, I'd be beside you, grabbing you by the ear and saying, on the floor now. Then I'd join you. So it's that awareness that shrinking is a natural state. So we have to accept that, and that's good. But some people's shrinking state, they don't visit shrinking. They start to live there because it feels safer. But in reality, it's incapacitating them from moving forward. So I worked with a lady who had lived in her bedroom for 18 months after a horrific event. And her husband brought her meals. She would put a blindfold on and walk down the hallway and went to the bathroom and back to her bedroom. So I took her through a whole series of skill building, and I'm not a mental health expert. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not a social worker. I'm a tour guide. I don't even call myself a coach for most things. And we helped her understand bitter, better, stretching, and shrinking. And we talked about the fact that there are 3 states we all visit every day. I don't care who you are or how professional you are, how old you are, we all visit these 3 states. And the 3 states, And some of your listeners might want to make notes because then they can look at them and go, The challenge is do you live there? So the first state is frozen. If you don't get up one morning a year and go, I don't want to get out of bed, then wow, I don't know who you are, what you eat, or who supports you, but if you can go 365 and never have that feeling, you're not anything like anybody I know, and good for you. But a little frozen is normal, but 3 days in a row could get you fired.
Right.
So we all do it a little bit. Drive in traffic, come to an intersection and go, oh, I forget, left or right, north or south, east or west, dang. And somebody behind you honks, and you go, I'll just pull up, I'll go through and pull over and look at the map, or turn on my GPS. So mini frozens are normal. But staying there for 6 months, losing a job or ruining a relationship, that's a whole different frozen. The next state is flicker. Well, Dr. Marcy, it's really good to talk to you today, but I have to really kind of go soon, and I'm having a hard time staying engaged and listening to you and sensing how you feel. And it's sort of like Michael if I drank 6 large double coffees in a row. It's not a character flaw again, rationally, emotionally, or physically to be there, but it's a lousy place to live. We all visit there a little bit, and that's good. You're human. You're stretching. Maybe it's lack of sleep. Maybe it's a financial issue. A long time ago, I had a client cost me 6 figures of money. I overtrusted them. Asked me how well I slept for 6 months, feeling ill at the pit of my stomach that I put all that effort in and didn't get the money. So then I said, you have to practice what you preach. Give it away and just keep moving.
Yeah.
So flicker. It's normal. Sometimes, though, we just don't flicker. Sometimes we go into frenzy. That's like Michael with 12 double coffees in a row. And then people are going, are you okay? Maybe our pupils are even a little dilated. So we're in a state of hypervigilance. We're always, ready for the other shoe to drop because I can't take it anymore. That's it. I've had it. We snap easily. Our nerves are frayed. And you know what? 10 minutes a day, 3 days a month. One of my friends went through a horrific divorce. At 19 years of marriage, they found out their spouse had 3 compounding mental health issues and was suddenly exhibiting them all, wouldn't go to therapy. So suddenly the 2 kids are going, parent A, our other parent is weird when you're not around. And so the parent that came to me for some tour guide help said, I have a spouse with the following health issues, and my kids aren't in physical danger, but emotionally they're getting put through the ringer. After 19 years, I'm confused. I love this person, but they won't go for treatment, so my kids are more important than my spouse. So he had some real frenzy times for about 6 weeks as he had to come to grips with, I'm going to have to divorce my spouse to keep my kids safe because she refuses to go for treatment. So it was very fascinating to see him in frenzy mode. We got him back to flickering, and then we got him into 3 healthy states that we should all do what we can to achieve every day. And many of us achieve 2 of these every day. I say we need to achieve 3 every day. And the first one is what I call the floppy state. And the floppy state is practicing relaxation, mindfulness, meditation, one of those 3 things. They're all related. They're cousins. But they're rational, emotional, and physical mental health skills. So you can call it diaphragmatic breathing, or you can call it belly breathing. But it oxygenates the brain, helps calm you down, helps you go into better quality of rest, and can even help you fall asleep if you do it slowly and quietly. My friends will tell me that I walk really fast because I like a hint of cardio when I walk for muscle tone. It makes your heart happier when your legs are in good tone. I didn't say athletic. Don't ask me to run a mile. But my legs are in great tone. And I'm now old enough that my doctor tells me that I'm in good shape. Pause. For my age. And your listeners should know there's 2 types of age to focus on. Your chronological, can't change it. But then what's your body age? So my goal is to always have a body age 20 years younger than my physical age. It's impossible to change my birth date, but through eating well, and I work exercise into my day. So eating well and working at keeping my blood pressure, my cardio, respiratory system in decent shape, I've managed to carve 17 to 18 years off my body age, if you will, against the national average, although having a body age of a 44-year-old is not that exciting when you're given how many 44-year-olds are not in great shape. But it's better than having a body age of a 62-year-old.
For sure.
So disidentification is a really big skill for me because I try to practice it in all categories because I am not my illnesses. Those are just, to me, important issues I have to manage because I'm not going to go blind because I don't manage diabetes. Don't get me wrong. But those are side issues because I'm really healthy and I have these other issues I just pay attention to.
For sure. So after floppy, what was the next?
The next one.
State, yeah.
Flow. I feel safe and trusting with you, so it's okay to let my guard down and engage with you and go back and forth and share with your listeners that floppy was exciting because it helps me rest, but it also helps my mind be calm. So when I, to use computer terms, boot up for the day, whether I'm in traffic or I'm at the office or I'm on the phone or I'm in front of a coaching client or whether I'm at a conference talking to a group or whether I'm at a business meeting helping a sales team, whatever, I can truly be engaged and concentrate because I have installed what I like to tease, Flow 7.1, the advanced model for brain training, and I can pay attention to what's and who's in the room and what their state of being is. And I've actually got quite good at knowing who is in the room and what their state is. Happy, sad, excited, angry, even though their game face is on. And I've gotten quite good, and I've actually spooked some people, not trying to scare them, but I come up to them saying, so it's been great to meet you. And if at some time you ever want to chat, I'd love to chat. And I know I've had more than a few people over the years go, how do you know I'm? And twice in the last decade, I've actually known when somebody was pregnant before they were. I didn't say anything. I just said, if you get good news in the next week or two, would you tell me?
Wow.
What do you mean, Michael? I said, I'm not sure. Because I'm not going to say you're pregnant. That would be just rude. I just say, I just have a hunch that you've got good news. So paying attention to being in flow helps you with your intuition. And more than one researcher has said it keeps us safer.
For sure. For sure.
You know, and so flow is very exciting, and working with youth and children, kids sense when you're connected and 100% engaged with them. I've had some 3-year-olds that I've done work with that have had terrible things happen to them, car accidents or abuse, or they've witnessed terrible things. And it's amazing how a child, if you're practicing flow with them through respectful 3-year-old behavior with them, I don't teach 3-year-olds diaphragmatic breathing, we do belly breathing. I don't teach 3-year-olds meditative walking. We do turtle walking. And so it really is amazing how I've had 3-year-olds say to their daddy, Daddy, Michael's fun. Can he come to our house and play? Kids get it when you're engaged with them. So, and the other thing about flow is no judgment. It doesn't mean I won't look at somebody and say, am I safe with them? But flow means I'm paying attention to their big expressions and their small expressions. And sometimes I know people's feelings better than they do. So flow. And the last one is fright and fun. Now, the experts would, in the 19th century, call this fight and flight. However, there was no 70-inch or 40-inch 4K television screens. They didn't have Dolby 7.2 surround sound, and they didn't have theater seats that vibrated when things on the screen went bump in the night. So we're getting people on occasion who are acting out post-traumatic stress because they've watched too much news. We've had people go to the movies and have panic attacks. So given that I work with special needs kids, we call it fright and fun because part of the entertainment we all experience, and whether it's live theater, whether it's homemade, I love to play hide and seek. I am the biggest kid you possibly ever met, not by weight, just to clarify, just by age. But I love to play hide and seek. If you saw my personality profile, I'm hyper competitive and I work almost every moment of every day not to win, because that's rather rude. But hide and seek, if there's 50 of us, I want to be in the top 3. Don't care if I'm number one. I've managed to break the beast to the back of the beast, but I want to be in the top 3. I'm willing to lie in the stinky ditch water with a snorkel, whatever it takes to come in 3rd or 2nd. 1st is a bonus, but 3rd's good. And have 47 other people, and I can go, happy dance. I came in 3rd. I still got it all going on. So that's the entertainment response. And having worked with kids with special needs, if you startled them and their fight and flight response came in, some of them have problems with their, we'll call it their shield, their Lexon shield, and so they overreact. So they might punch you in the nose because you startled them, and it's your fault. I got special needs. I can't control my behavior. So we call it fight and flight at the expert level, but dealing with my model, we call it fright and fun or fright and entertainment, because it really is part of the entertainment when they use the driving music. When you watch the news or Entertainment Tonight or one of the other TV shows, there's always these loud music that are emotive to draw you in and accelerate your heartbeat and dilate your pupils a little. So the entertainment response is a safety response as well. So a little bit of that every day is great. And working with special needs kids or regular kids, the challenge is if you play computer games for 14 hours, it actually depletes your body of certain chemistries. And so that's why you're whacked out and tired the next day. So a couple of days a year, go to a marathon game show and play against others around the world. I say 2 thumbs up, go for it. 3 nights a week, you're hurting yourself for school, your relationships, your job. You're not coming to work with your brain and your body fully equipped and a full tank of all the proper chemicals you need to fully function. So fright and fun, or fright and entertainment response, is a critical response, but be careful of overdoing it. I have a friend who I really think is addicted to murder mysteries. 4 hours of murder mysteries, 5 and 6 nights a week is like, 90 minutes, okay, but...
I think what you're saying about balance is really, really important, because there's so many good things. And, you've talked a lot about a lot of really cool strategies, but I also think I really appreciate the fact that you emphasize the need for balance, because anything that you overdo is not going to be good for you, right?
Too much of a good thing is too much of a good thing. Mae West was wrong. I mean, I have an acquaintance, I don't know her well, very wealthy, and with deep regard to practitioners everywhere. She shouldn't be going to these practitioners for what she goes for 4 times a month. They don't all know she's doing it, but because she does it, she goes to different ones. So, going for a bowel cleanse once a week to 4 different places around the province, that's probably because they've all said once a month is the max, but she doesn't tell them because she sees her bowel as an unclean place. Well, no, that speaks to possibly other issues, ma'am.
Yes, she needs a different type of practitioner.
Exactly, one that works on between the ears and the heart. Because why do you think your digestive tract is unclean?
Exactly.
I love my bacteria, because we now know that bacteria in the gut helps with brain health if it's the right bacteria.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyways, so yes, there's frozen, flickered, and frenzied, all normal to visit by the minute, the hour, or the day. If it's the day or the week and it's big stuff, understandable. But you have to stick to your exercise, your diet, create a support team to work through that to stay safe for yourself, your family, your friends, and ask for help is a sign of strength. And get a theme song or 2 or 3, one to let out the tears and one to build you up. And then floppy, what a great thing to practice after breakfast, after lunch, after supper, and before bedtime, because it helps with your sleep, helps with your blood pressure, helps with your brain health. Flow, it's great. It's helped me engage with people that I was told were unapproachable. My claim to fame when I was fighting cancer the first time and the second time, the psych ward asked me to come up and play the piano several times because they were having a bad day. And that ties into a sense of purpose. I might live or die in 6 weeks to 6 months to 6 years or 60 years, but I'm going to go out on my terms, having fun on occasion. So, flow. It's doing it on purpose. It's seeking out times to have flow. You can flow going for a walk. You can flow riding a bike. I love to ride my bike. Maybe one day you and I will go for a bike ride.
Sounds good.
And so flow on purpose, on time. And safety and entertainment response having something that stimulates you, to make you feel things. My brother's got a driving program on his computer, and my spouse doesn't forbid me to do things. Well, except we had that talk when we were dating that I wouldn't date other women and she wouldn't date other men. But other than that, yeah, it seemed like a fair discussion. It's the only thing she's forbidden me to do is don't play that computer game anymore. It hyper-stimulates me. They use every trick in the book. Rapid music accelerates heartbeat, so the music on the screen is the music in the game is probably 180 beats a minute, 3 times the standing heart rate of an average person. They use flashing lights, sirens. My brother's got a good game. He's got the console and the brakes and the gas and everything all vibrate when you take a shortcut through the bad road. And if you take the other shortcut and you go across the 18th century bridge that's made of logs, it really rumbles. I love that game. You can actually see my chest move with my heart rate if I play the game 30 or 40 minutes. It owns me psychologically. But I haven't played it because my wife says for 3 nights I don't sleep well. She doesn't sleep well, and she said, let's just say I've said things about the developer of said game and your health, and maybe a kick in the shins if you play it one more time and don't tell me. So the entertainment response and the safety response are crucial to have because it's important. And when I was fighting big things, I found that poetry, prose, music, conversation were all things they could mildly to more engage me and raise my entertainment and safety response, and it made me feel really alive. So there was a quote that I just love. In the midst of winter, I finally found there was in me an invincible summer, by Camus, Albert Camus, a French literary genius. And I love that quote. So that's one of my quotes to help me disidentify with my cancer, to help me say, I have cancer. Cancer doesn't have me. And whether I live or die in 6 weeks or 6 months or 60 months, I'm going to go out going, that was nose, thumb on nose, fingers waving in the air for your listeners. Phooey on cancer. So
the big raspberry.
A big raspberry. Thank you. That's the word. Yeah, I forgot the word.
Wonderful.
So that was, the bitter, better, stretching, shrinking. For people that are stuck, it's okay to be stuck. But what can you do to take ownership for 3 minutes a day? So the lady that had agoraphobia that was stuck, I told her, what can you do for 3 minutes a day where you own the space? Phooey on agoraphobia. Phooey on mental health issues that get you stuck in your bedroom trying to raise your kids. She went, 3 minutes. Oh, I guess I could do 3 minutes. I said, you pick the time of day. Dead of night? Middle of the day? I don't care. But you're going to go to the bathroom and you're not going to run out. Or you're going to practice walking to the bathroom with the blindfold on, with hands on both sides of the wall, going backwards, because you don't need to run down the hall anymore. Agoraphobia? On you. So she started making fun of agoraphobia. Not her own condition, just the condition. I know it sounds silly, but we did a gratitude list. She had 10 digits, 10 toes that worked, 10 fingers, and 8 fingers and 2 thumbs that worked. And of course, we had a little teasing there that how many digits do you have in your hand? She said 10. I said, how many fingers? She said 10. I said, 8 plus 2 thumbs, opposing digits. So we had her do a gratitude list. We had her start off that for 3 minutes of the day, she had agoraphobia. Agoraphobia did not own her. And it was just like a toe. I call it a toe in the door of the mind. So it's about, if there was a picture of you in a dictionary that only you can see, it's highly confidential and highly privileged information. Part of dealing with our chronic illness, our acute illness issues, our aging issues, how have you so far allowed yourself, your family, your society, your culture, your faith, everything around you to define you? I could define me as older, but I like Betty Wade. I'm not old, I'm just older. Cancer survivor, I have medical clips, 77 of them, they ache a lot, as opposed to, that's a little reminder that I'm still alive. Mm-hmm. I could say, the colitis and the cancer and the no large digestive tract, it's annoying on the grocery bill, and buy shares in the toilet paper company because, boy, do I use more than most. Or I can say, I've had so much surgery, I'm the only man that can look anybody in the eye, and I love to tease a room full of medical practitioners. I'm the only guy that can look you in the eye and say, I've got lost so many innards that I'm almost a gutless wonder. I got almost no guts left, and I still wonder. And depending on the tone of the group, if they're extra formal, I don't always say this. I say, and I'm the only man, ladies, willing to admit that he's had so much plastic surgery and the nether reasons that he's also a perfect ass. So the disidentification, the framing and the reframing and looking at 3, 4, 5 other points of view, it doesn't make the frozen, flickered, and frenzy go away. But for me, it's about shortening the cycle, shortening the intensity, allowing me to get back to floppy, flow, and fright and fun sooner, acknowledging the issues, going to my medical appointments, Lord knows, going for my tissue tests back in the day, tush tissue tests, not fun. The old equipment in the 80s was straight from the Spanish Inquisition. It really was like 3/4 inch plus garden hose. And the new stuff, to misquote Monty Python's, only a flesh wound. And so I have mocked the issues, knowing that they're very serious. So some would say that I have gamified managing my health, knowing there's serious consequences. So you never disregard what my conventional and my integrated health team, because I have an integrated health team. I have my family GP. I have my family dietitian. But a major groceries chain offers free dietitian services. So she walked me through the whole store, aisle by aisle, and I found out I had gaps in my food knowledge. So she was different than the dietitian at the diabetes clinic. So I saw 3 dietitians, 2 of them twice in 6 months. So I was 5 dietitian appointments in 6 months. Boring, but I wanted to make sure that I knew that the fuel going in was affecting me a certain way, because having the short gut and the no large digestive tract from the cancer, I'm the first one anybody's seen in my healthcare team.
Yeah, it sounds to me like you have a very irreverent attitude, but you also take it very seriously and you're very conscientious. So it sounds to me like a very nice balance that's definitely something you can teach to your clients.
I try to be very respectful to self. My body is a temple, but it's the scratch and dent model. So if I took the surgeries seriously, my abdomen's got so many scars. The first year I had scars, I actually had a kid at the beach. The scar was still raw and angry looking, and he cried when he saw my belly. The poor child was just traumatized. Well, I didn't try to traumatize him. I was out at the beach 6 months after the surgeries, flaunting I was still alive.
For sure.
But it's that, do you have the issue or does the issue have you? Well, at 3 a.m, it's okay for the issue to own you. What are the skills? What is the mindset? What are the beliefs you're going to use to kick the issue, not yourself? You're not going to beat up on yourself for letting the issue bite you. You're just going to say, yeah, you own me for an hour or 3 or a week. But you know what? It's time to say goodbye. Like the lady with agoraphobia. For 3 minutes a day, I'm kicking your ass. Pardon my language, but not pardon my language. I'm getting angry at the issue. I don't have time for this much space in my life to be taken up by this issue. So the skills I practice, as we come to our close soon, self-definition. Those words, thoughts, feelings, little movies that we've allowed life to have in us, some of them are the truth. I have slightly above size feet. As my daughters would tease when they were younger and I was trying to help them understand body image. Dad, your toes are like fingers. They're huge. I said, well, if I lose a finger, I got a spare down below. I said, just think of all the toe jam we can store down there in an emergency for heating the house. Nonsense, but. So, self-definition. What are the negatives and that people have said about you? Some of the truth and some of them aren't. It really hurt me that I have, I'm told by some, a musical sense of rhythm that is world class. However, I don't have management over it. So playing with others got in the way of a potential career to get into the career. If I could have leapfrogged from sounding adequate to high performance, I might have been able to do well by 30. But so you just take advice and keep moving. If I'd have listened to the person who told me I was lousy at math, I'd have given up at math in grade 10 with a 52. But another math expert said, "Oh, Michael, there's several parts to math. So calculus and algebra aren't you, but I've seen you do business math and geometry at the hardware store. You're very remarkable what you do in your head." So framing and reframing. Lousy at this piece of math, way above average in this piece of math. So self-definition that's positive, negative, and half-truths and half-lies.
So you're saying really be realistic.
Be honest about yourself. So I got all these scars, so I'm okay with that. I'll never be on GQ. Don't care. Those poor guys have a great body, but can they keep up to my mind? Not to compete, but just that's the legend in my own mind that I have on a short leash. Because it's fun. It's because if I got all hung up on I'm never going to look like that, well, why bother carrying on? But as opposed to, well, they have their gifts, I have mine. And besides, I have a little pudginess going on. And the government did say, keep three days of food with you at all times. I carry mine around with me.
I think what you're really saying is that we all have to be the very best version of ourselves that
Yes.
we can be. We don't have to try to be somebody else or to beat somebody else. We just need to be our best.
100%. I can't compete with you. To quote my East Coast friends, you're some right smart, darling. So I can only be my kind of smart.
For sure. Well, on that note, do you have a call to action for our listeners today?
I do. I want your listeners to consider 1, 2, or 3 of the following things. 1, what health issue do you have that you should re-examine and reframe? I'm not saying your current healthcare provider is wrong, but can you go get a second opinion on an issue that somebody said there's nothing you can do? Because I've had too many friends stick with that. But I had a friend who got told they could only have major surgery, but by seeing an RMT, a registered massage therapist, and going through, and I don't know what type of expert it was, who gave them, it wasn't a yoga expert because this was the 70s. They went into somebody who gave them proper stretching exercises after examining their x-rays, and they had a 30-year career and didn't need the back surgery. So by getting a second opinion, they got rid of a lot of pain. So what can you reframe about your body and your current diagnosis? 2, what can you do to add more joy to your life? Not to laugh your way through everything because it's no fun to lose a job or have a sibling die or a loved one die, but what can you do to put joy into your life for 3 minutes a day, on time and on purpose? Don't look in the mirror and say life's sad all the time. Look in the mirror and say, I want 3 minutes of happiness. I deserve it. How can you add some happiness, some joy? And last and not least, and this is one of the biggest things I've ever learned repeatedly, is what's your meaning and purpose? I met a shut-in who said, I'm old and tired and there's no use for me. And I put her in touch with a group of people who had lost their eyesight but still had decent hearing, and she started reading them stories. So suddenly, for 2 hours a week, she was their storyteller. She was their eyes. So there's always a way to add purpose to somebody else's life, whether it's visiting at the hospital or visiting a neighbor, but there's all sorts of ways to do purpose. So there's 3 calls to action. Pick 1, pick 2, pick 3, but go do it.
That's wonderful, Michael. I really appreciate you talking with us today. There's lots of wonderful things to think about, and I think it's going to be really fun for the listeners to listen to this talk a few times because I think there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom in there.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Be well.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was the inspiring Michael Ballard, and I'm Dr. Marcia Sirota. If you like this podcast, please review it on iTunes. You can also sponsor me on Patreon at patreon.com/Dr. Marcia Sirota. And please sign up for my free monthly wellness newsletter. It's available at marciasirotamd.com.